All right, final steps. Quad's connected via USB, no battery power right now, just USB. Sensors we don't really care about right now, but you can move your drone around and see the different things move on the screen as the gyro and accelerometer measure different movements. Okay, we're not doing tethered logging. Okay, black box. Okay, this is basically your onboard memory for flight logs. So if you are flying and you log in something, which we'll do later in class, we use logging for a lot of assignment submissions to show me that you did something, you submit a log. So we'll want to be using logging in our class. Okay, black box configuration, onboard flash is what we're going to use. Okay, we have built-in flash memory into our drone. Okay, here the black box logging rate, we should be able to use half rate. You don't need to go 1-to-1. I'd say half or quarter rate is enough. Basically, this takes into account how quickly it logs things, if that makes sense. If it's measuring, slower or faster, 200 hertz, 3200 hertz, okay. But of course, the faster you log, the faster your memory space will fill up. And so to avoid it filling up every single flight, you would probably pick quarter or half logging rate most of the time. I'm going to go with half right now, okay. And then black box debug mode. We're going to search here, or you can scroll for gyro, gyro scaled, okay. And that is basically something in a specific parameter is going to log for us, which will be helpful throughout the class. I'm going to hit save and reboot. Okay, it's going to reboot the drone. Go back to our black box tab here. Okay, that's still set, so that's good. But as you can see, I have some logs from last semester, something that are taking up some space. I'm going to erase those so I can start with a fresh open space here. And we're going to say yes, I want to erase it. Okay, it's going to take a second here. It's going to give me a clean slate, so my logging memory is now completely empty and blank and ready for fresh logs. You want to pay attention to this. If your log does fill up, you will need to download it during the class to submit to assignments, things like that. But make sure it's not full before you go to do a flight. You might think you're logging, but if the memory is already full, it won't log anything. So then you have to do the flight again for assignment purposes. You can always fly with the black box log full, but of course you can't log anything if it's already full. All right, it's taking longer than I thought. I'll pause. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, so now my free space is full. We just have 16 megabytes of space on these flight controllers. That's great. All right. And down here, this is something you'll use later on. This is activate mass storage device mode. If you're trying to copy your logs onto your computer to review them or submit them for an assignment, you will hit this button. Okay. My flight controller now disconnected from my computer, but if I go to my File Explorer, we can see a Beta FLT drive. If I had flight logs, they would be right in here. Okay, so it basically turns the flight controller into like a flash drive, and you can grab the logs and put them in on your computer somewhere, on your desktop, whatever you want to do, and the flight controller will be in that USB flash drive mode until you power cycle it. So I can go ahead and eject here. It's not really going to do much, okay? But if I go back here and I unplug the quad and plug it back in, now it will be back into regular flight controller mode, okay? So we can go back into Betaflight and see it connected up here, okay? It moves around and everything, so now we're back in flight controller mode. The data flash up here will also show how much you have full or free, and so we can see the whole thing's empty now, so it's free right there. Back in black box again, that was this button down here. That's how you get your flight logs from your flight controller. Okay. All right. So that pretty much covers the initial setup of the flight controller. I've gone through pretty much all these tabs here, things like that. We're going to do a couple things on the dot cam here. So I'm going to switch over to that, and that should wrap us up. So let me go over here, dot cam, and zoom out a little bit. Okay. So let's see if this all works. My receiver's gone into Wi-Fi mode with the fast flashing, so I'm going to unplug it now. Okay. I'm going to plug it back in. Actually, sorry, I'm not going to plug it back in yet. I'm going to turn my transmitter on first. Okay. In the model that it's supposed to be on and everything. We have our Betaflight quad. Now we'll plug the drone in. Okay. Should get a solid LED on our receiver there. Okay. But I don't have a battery plugged in yet, so we're not going to do that yet. Let's go over to Betaflight. I'm going to show you the landing page here with a couple of things. This info page right here is really important, okay? If your drone won't arm or won't spin the motors, this is the most frequent case. These flags here will tell you what's wrong, okay? Arming disable flags, MSP RPM filter, okay? So basically MSP, okay, connection is active probably with this Betaflight configurator. So Betaflight quads won't arm by default when they're plugged into the computer, which kind of makes sense because you're not going to fly with it connected to the computer. So if I were to unplug that, then the MSP would go away. Now I can't see it anymore once I unplug the USB, but odds are that that's the USB connection to the computer. The other flag right here is RPM filter. Okay, we turn on that bidirectional D shot, which uses certain filters, needs the ESC to be working. Right now, the Betaflight configurator says, hey, your RPM filtering is not working. And that's because my battery is not plugged in, so my ESC is not even turned on. So that's also a normal flag for us in this class to see when we don't have a battery plugged into the quad. Okay, if I plug a battery into the quad right now, which I'm going to do right now, okay, battery voltage is up now. We can see I plugged in a 4S battery and the RPM filter flag disappeared. Now, I can't get the MSP flag to disappear on screen because I have to disconnect from USB to get that to happen. We're going to go back over to DocCam and check it out though and see if we can arm our drone. Okay, so I'm going to disconnect here. Okay, go back over to the DocCam. Let's see if we can arm the aircraft. Hey, there we go. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but the motors are definitely spinning. Okay, and I disarmed. Motors all stopped. So it appears to be working, right? We checked out our video earlier. Okay. Here are some of those post-flight statistics we looked at on the OSD a little bit earlier. There's my stats. Okay. If I arm the aircraft again, flip the switch, armed. Okay. And we see some of those OSD elements here. Okay. On screen. If I disarm, we get the stats. Okay. So we're in a pretty good spot. Looks like everything's working like it should be. Okay. Looks like the FPV part is working. Looks like the motors are working. The transmitter is working. Okay. And we're in a pretty good place. Now, one last thing I'm going to check is the fail safe. Okay. And we can check that more later, but I'm going to do an initial check right now. So I'm going to arm the aircraft, give a little bit of throttle. I'm going to turn my transmitter off. And the motors turned off by themselves. Fail-safe is working. That's the safest way to check your fail-safe is on the bench without any propellers, not when you're out there flying. Okay. You can also see on this, it's showing, I need to zoom in, RX loss fail-safe, RX loss fail-safe. So it has fail-safed. I don't know if you can hear this. Let me move the microphone. Hey, I'm sorry if that was super loud. I was trying to get you guys to hear that through the mic. The motors are beeping because I've fail-safed, right? We fail-safe so that motor D-shot beacon is beeping the motors, and now we can go find the drone wherever it is in the field where we crashed or something like that, okay? Let's turn the transmitter back on. Okay, see if we get a link. There we go. Okay, it linked again, right? So it stopped beeping. All right, and let's see if we have control over the aircraft again. We're going to disarm and arm. Motors are spinning again, so we have control. Great. Disarmed. If I use my beeper switch, which I set to this button right here. Okay, and again, let me move the mic. Okay, so that should show you what the switch, the beeper switch does, in my case a button, but a beeper switch does, or when you fail-safe the motors beep. Okay, and our fail-safe is working, so that's also a good sign. It means if we happen to lose link when we're flying, the drone won't just fly away on us to somewhere, who knows where. All right, I'm going to unplug the battery now since our video transmitter is probably getting pretty warm. You'll see the video cuts out. Okay, our USB is still plugged in. Okay, I hope that helps with your setup of your aircraft. This video will be inside of, turn off the doc cam, this assignment. Okay, initial beta flight configuration. I have some steps written out here. We'll go over a lot of this in class as well too. These kind of just double check some things for you as you go through the setup. And this video that I'm making right now will be linked in this assignment. So good luck setting up your quad. If you have any trouble, please let me know. Remember, please double check things. Don't let your video transmitter sit there and just bake and bake and bake. Okay. Also, the batteries don't last that long, so you can't just leave a battery plugged in for a long time because it will drain the battery as well. All right. And before you try any of this stuff, of course, make sure we've checked your aircraft with the multimeter and the smoke stopper before you even plug a battery in at all. That way we don't fry anything like a motor or an ESC or even your flight controller. That'd be bad news. Okay. All right. Well, good luck, and we'll see you in class.